All right, really quickly, I want to hit on two more topics that really kind of popped this weekend that I really think are really kind of interesting and relevant to talk about. The first one, throughout this probably last 6-week period or so, I think I've pretty consistently given you updates on COVID-19 and what it means for sports in general. And if you remember, it all kind of started in that weird window where there was all kinds of crazy reports coming out about California. California is going to be in lockdown until the end of July. Well, guess what? Today is Monday, June 8th. On June 5th, Friday, I went out and I had lunch at a restaurant. Didn't happen. San Diego State, Fresno State, San Jose State, there are no kids on campus. San Diego State's already said we're playing football season one way or the other. So that was really where I started with all of this. And then it kind of evolved into some of you really liked the idea of me kind of keeping you updated. What's going on with Major League Baseball? It's a disaster. What's going on with the NBA? It's actually at a pretty good place. And if you're really curious, I actually did a post for Kentucky Sports Radio about where all the sports are relative to either coming back, are they back, when are they planning on coming back. As of right now, everything from NASCAR to UFC to boxing, golf is coming back. Those first three that I mentioned, NASCAR, UFC, boxing, are back. Golf is coming back. The NBA is coming back. Really the only two that haven't made any type of official announcement, Major League Baseball, because they're arguing, it's a terrible look for Major League Baseball, and tennis. In tennis's defense, they have a bunch of players from overseas. They have a bunch of tournaments overseas, and so it probably is going to be a while before tennis gets back up. But everything is trending in the right direction. By the way, I should give a quick shout out. Shout out of the day. Remember I used to do shout out of the day? Shout out of the day goes to the PBR, the Professional Bull Riders Association, Professional Bull Riders. Why? They came back on April 25th. They were the first sport back, and they have said the weekend, I believe it's like July 9th through 11th, 10th through 12th, they're actually going to have fans in the stands. And so they are the first sport to actually announce we are going to have fans in the stands, and this is what it's going to look like. So shout out to the PBR. And by the way, I may try to get somebody from the PBR on this show. What else do I have to do? It's the middle of June. Nothing's going on. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Okay, back on topic. And the reason I'm kind of redoing the COVID thing is for this reason. As I mentioned off the top, today is June 8th. Well, that is kind of knowledge. I didn't need to mention that. But June 8th is a huge day. SEC football programs, SEC programs in general can have both their basketball and football players back on campus for workouts, whatever. And what has happened is, obviously, in the lead up to June 8th, players are getting back, getting set up, whatever. And we've actually had a lot of positive tests. And so I went back and I looked it up to make sure this was right. Ole Miss was the first one I saw. They had one player and one staffer test positive for COVID-19 when everybody came back to campus. Alabama actually had 5 players test positive for COVID-19. Texas A&M, their AD said we had under 5, which sounds like 4 to me. He's trying not to freak everybody out. They had 4. Oklahoma State had 3. And Auburn on Sunday announced they had 3. And so I think a lot of people are looking at and saying, oh my God, it's so bad. This virus is still going on. It's awful. All these guys are testing positive. That's like 20-ish guys in 5 schools. Imagine how many there are across the country. But I actually think, believe it or not, I actually think this is a positive sign going forward. And you're going to think I'm crazy, but let me explain why I think it's a positive sign going forward. First of all, we should mention that of those 20 or so cases, it's somewhere between like 16 and 20, every single person has been asymptomatic. That is a great, incredible sign going forward that all of these guys are asymptomatic. But I also think when you just extrapolate it out, there are, 20-ish players at 6 schools, so that's 20 out of 550 to 600 people that are testing positive right now. It really makes you wonder, and by the way, they're all asymptomatic, positive. That's a good thing, right? It really makes you wonder how many people have already had this illness and we had no idea. Think about it. First of all, these players would not report to campus if they were super sick or had a crazy temperature or whatever. They wouldn't report. The school wouldn't want them to report. So the fact that they all came, all were tested, and we have like 20 players at 6 schools means that there's probably dozens, if not hundreds, across the country of players who have already been exposed to it. Even better, they've all battled it away. The fact that these guys all tested positive means that they're not even, they're asymptomatic, means that their body was fighting off the illness naturally. That is an incredibly good sign. And again, if you want to extrapolate it out, by the way, I should mention, it happened on campus, so they're not exposing anybody else, so that's a great sign too, which we'll get to in a minute. But if you want a positive out of this, it's that all these guys tested positive and none of them had any idea, which probably means that dozens of them have had it throughout the offseason. Now, you may be saying, hey, T, that's crazy. I actually told you this, well, really, 2 months ago. I mean, listen, I'll say this. I'm not right on everything. I never would claim to be right on everything. I know I'm Aaron Torres. I'm amazing. But I'm not right on everything. But one thing I try to do is gather factual information and deliver it here. And so while I'm far from a medical expert, this is what I can tell you. You can go back to the episode from March 12th, the day the NCAA tournament was canceled, and listen to what I said. And what I said was, because I was in Las Vegas for the Pac-12 tournament when the NBA completely canceled their season, I was in Vegas, could have gone out, could have had fun. Instead, I stayed in my room and really read up on this. And even back then, people were asymptomatic. The data out of Europe was that the vast majority of people testing positive in a lot of these countries like Germany where they had advanced testing, people were testing positive that didn't even realize they had it. So even back then, that was a positive sign that has really been extrapolated out to now. And I told you this probably about 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. Remember this story? Because I think it was one of the more important stories that I've told relative to COVID-19 on this show. And that story was very simply this, is that there was a USC study done on the antibodies, on people testing for antibodies. And what antibodies means is this, is people getting tested that had the illness and fought it off naturally. And it was a USC study. They had done them all over the country, but the one at USC stood out to me because I live in Los Angeles. This test was done in April. They tested 863 people, so almost 1,000 people. And of those 863 people, about 4% tested positive for the antibodies, which means that they had already had the illness and had absolutely no idea. And when you extrapolated that out, that 4%, to the entire population of Los Angeles, that's 360,000 people in Los Angeles that probably had it that didn't even realize it. I think I had it. I was in Las Vegas 2 days before the world shut down. You know how many people from all over the world were traveling into that city at that exact moment? I can't say I did. I can't promise you I did. And I'm not claiming to be a medical expert, but what I am doing is taking the data and informing myself, which in turn tries to inform you guys. I'm not trying to tell you how you should feel. If you're not comfortable leaving your house, you shouldn't. If you're not comfortable without a mask, you shouldn't. But if you can go to a restaurant and you are comfortable sitting 6 feet apart from people, sit down and have a beer. That's my personal opinion. You can disagree, but that is my personal opinion. As far as the football players are concerned, I would also add one other really important thing. And that is that this also plays into a second thing that I have been telling you from the beginning, which is this, that the best place players can actually be is on campus. And you have all these negative people in media. It's not safe. Keep them at home. Keep them locked up. That's actually completely wrong. What's right is that no matter what you think about this illness, no matter what you think about, by the way, about college athletics in general, college basketball, college football get crushed. But the one thing you can't say about college athletics, get tested on campus, get tested all the time, and if you have it, you have access to the best doctors in the world. UCLA Medical Center is one of the best hospitals in the world. Duke Medical Center is one of the best hospitals in the world. You got access to the best medical professionals in the world. And so the safest place you can actually be is on campus. And then, oh, by the way, you're only with your peers. You're only with young people. And you're away from mom and dad. You're away from grandma and grandpa. So think about all these guys that have been carrying this illness and had no idea. Thank goodness they're on campus. Thank goodness they're not at home going to visit grandma at her house. Maybe grandma lives with him. Maybe his parents have some kind of illness. And so, again, I'm not trying to be an expert, but I think I'm not trying to be a medical expert. I think this is a positive sign. I think this is a good thing. And I think we're going to continue to see positive tests as more and more schools report. Don't freak out. It's actually a good thing.